Good morning. Congratulations to Harry Epanopoulos and all the others that contributed to organizing the Lead India 2020 Sustainable Development Conference last Saturday. I heard so many great talks. I hope a recording of these will be made available soon so that I can listen to some of them again. While lots of great things were said about the problems and especially the scope of the problems and what has to be done about them, nothing will have been accomplished if no action follows. We now have to focus on how improvements can be made and then do it. Otherwise, it all remains just talk. Someone referred to an Upanishad that was something along the lines of, have the, I didn't catch that word, to think noble, good thoughts. The boldness to say what you think, and the fortitude, determination to do what you say. At the end of my talk, I asked for a show of hands of who was willing to join the effort to help mobilize the youth of the world to advance Dr. Kalam's idea of empowering youth to transform the world. Almost all those still present raised their hands. I consider this to be say. Now we have to see that the do matches the say. When we say empower youth to transform the world, I believe this doesn't mean empower them to prepare themselves to be able to transform the world when they get older. I believe those that do not learn to take on grand challenges when they are young will have difficulty learning to do so when they are older and when they have less time and the consequences of failure seem greater. As we age, we seem to become more cautious, risk-averse, and less imaginative. Maybe that's why almost all the successful major companies founded in the last few decades have been founded by very young people. What do the inventor of the most accurate test for early detection of pancreatic cancer, the inventor of an accurate quick test for Ebola just this year, the inventors of a method for increasing grain crop yields by up to 70% without using chemicals to feed a growing world population, the developer of the most widely used education tool in the world, the person who built a generator from scrap to bring the first electricity to his remote village in Africa, and the mobilizer of more than 10 million youth around the world to engage in service. What do all these folks have in common? They were all younger than 18 when they did these things. Most were younger than 16. We have to act to make sure that the majority of youth are not just awed by these young people, but they become inspired and encouraged to take on equally bold challenges. There's a great video of a young girl asking, how old do you have to be to change the world? She describes how she and her friends are not waiting and are acting now. She was 9 when she recorded that video. In one of the talks, it was said that Dr. Kalam's goal was to develop youth to become innovators. We need to do this while they are young and before they lose the innovative, courageous mindset. We live in a world where it is still widely common for young people to hear over and over again, don't speak until spoken to, wait until we tell you okay, etc. We need to get our young people, all young people in all the world, to realize they shouldn't wait. We need to get them to realize that they cannot afford to wait for others to fix the world around them. We have to get them to realize that either they take action to shape the world of their future, or they will suffer the consequences to live in a future world that is often being shaped by greed and personal ambition, without regard to others or the health of the planet itself. We need to encourage all young people not to allow the adults around them to discourage them with comments such as, be careful, get your head out of the clouds, keep your feet on the ground, select a less ambitious goal, be realistic. What is the unofficial motto of Silicon Valley? Fail often, fail early, fail forward. We need to grow a generation that views failure not as a catastrophe, but simply as a step in progress. Another perspective. What do the founders of Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Theranos, it's a medical testing company founded by the richest self-made woman in the world, have in common? The median age of the founders of these companies at the time they founded them was 19. It is not easy for those of older generations that grew up in a time of different challenges and expectations, a time where skills and knowledge were often associated with age. It's hard for us to be able to imagine ourselves behaving in these ways, and therefore it's difficult for us to encourage young people to think this way. But we must do this if there will be enough young people prepared to lead the society 10, 20, or 30 years from now in a way that the majority of the population will still be able to live well. In a world where robotics, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, climate change, etc., will have changed society and the world in ways that make it barely recognizable to today's mind. President Kennedy said, "Those who look only to the past and to the present are certain to miss the future." To those of you of older generations, I ask you to not cause our young people to miss their future because you are too grounded in the present or because you long for the good old days of the past that usually were really not that good for most people. My vision includes young people all over the world taking responsibility for their own education and for the education of their entire generation, and a world-class education at that. They're pulling for education, discovering the best means of learning, and then going about finding ways to access them. They're all becoming experts in learning how to learn most effectively and efficiently. They're not waiting for anyone to teach them. But at the same time, they're leveraging and taking advantage of everything and everyone, including teachers, that can help them learn. Such a pull approach would revolutionize education, and it would change the very definition of affordable education. So how can we do this? While we don't have all the answers yet, I can see one possibility that can move us a significant share of the way to achieving the above vision. I believe it is the young people of the world that are best positioned to bring about this mindset change among the children of the world. Young people using social media, word of mouth, setting great examples, and whatever else it takes to spread the word and spread the inspiration and motivation to every child in every corner of the world. I see them taking the initiative to ask for support for their efforts instead of waiting for somebody to ask them to simply be the arms and the legs to execute the ideas of others. Many of Saturday's speakers talked about youth becoming change agents. This is a very appropriate word for the approach I just described. The main thing, however, is simply to get started. To do so with a sense of commitment that we will not stop until the job is done and all children in the world are self-driven, independent learners that have mastered the core subjects upon which further learning builds by the time they are around 11. Something else to think about. I'm not sure whether having 100% of our young people educated and being independent learners will be the greatest benefit of this initiative. Or will it be the leadership skills, confidence, and other skills the young people that are involved in the process of mobilizing and motivating the rest of their generation will gain from their involvement? So what do we need to do? We need to start getting as many young people as possible to see both the need and the possibilities to achieve the changes that will better their future lives and everyone else's future lives. We have to get them to believe in themselves and their ability to bring about such change. We need them to recognize that there are a great many organizations and individuals that are ready to support them. We have to get our young people to understand that it is better to get something done and ask for forgiveness later if need be, than to wait for permission and risk not getting anything done. We have to get them to learn that it is far better they do as much as they can with what they have or can quickly arrange than to wait for something better to be there. Better is the enemy of good. But who's this we I'm referring to in the previous paragraphs? As Corinne Biersetti said, if not us, then who? So I contend the initial we are those of us that were in the room last Saturday. especially those that raised their hands to say they wanted to help. The first step to changing the mindset of young people throughout the world is to rally enough young people to the cause of mobilizing a big chunk of their generation to bring about the desired change. Again, Kiran Sethi said, "Contagious is a good word." She wants to infect the young people of the entire world with the "I can" bug. To do that, we have to make the "we can mobilize an entire generation" idea infectious throughout the world. Beyond us as individuals are the organizations that many at the conference represent or are members of. For example, I see myself continuing to work to get every Rotary and Rotaract club around the world to join in supporting this effort. Lions International is already working with Lead India 2020. My ideal is that all the clubs in these and similar organizations each simply ensure the young people in their youth organizations and the areas their clubs serve are aware of the need and the challenge, and that they encourage those young people to take on that challenge with the knowledge that we and our organizations are there to support them. And then that those organizations follow through with that support. Will this be easy? President Kennedy, in his speech that rallied the nation to put a man on the moon in less than 10 years, said, "We do these things not because they are easy, but because they're hard." A little later, he added, "We don't yet know how we'll do this, but we're going to do it anyway." I contend that having a 100% educated population is a far greater benefit than putting a man on the moon. We need to find ways to rally the entire world population to prioritize and work towards this goal. However, as soon as I say entire world and all children, many people start to fear this is too big a challenge. They say, be more realistic, think smaller, etc. In one of his speeches, Dr. Kalam said something along the lines of, "Don't concern yourself with the small things. Thinking about small things can only result in small solutions." I mentioned to you on Saturday Google's approach of only supporting projects that typically bring a 10 times improvement, so that they deliberately make it that no current thinking will be adequate to accomplishing the goal. They're forcing people to think outside the box, beyond the current thinking. And remember, it's not the goal that defines the challenge, but rather the need. And the need is all children in the entire world. I challenge you, think big and think bold. Let's get started. The future of our children and grandchildren requires nothing less. If you find this initiative to be worthy and you want to help make it a reality, please email me at wmgraham, that's WMGRAHAM, the number 1, at hotmail.com. I hope to hear from many of you in the near future. Thank you.